Suddenly, the dark shapes of cruisers, destroyers, and transports appear through the morning haze. There are dozens of them. Enterprise SBDs and torpedo planes begin their descent on the island, ready to parole the enemy defenders to hell. Enterprise warplanes unleash a ferocious series of attacks on the Japanese positions, while the cruisers and destroyers move in for the kill. Now, with more Enterprise bombers screaming through the skies and U.S. warships taking aim, the enemy garrison at Macon is about to get an even closer look at American firepower. November 20th, 1943, Macon Atoll in the Gilbert Islands. The atoll is the first step on Admiral Chester Nimitz's drive through the Central Pacific. Bombers, torpedo planes, and brand new Hellcat fighters roar from the deck of the Grey Ghost to wreak havoc on the enemy base. The long flight deck is a perfect runway, but Enterprise has another method for launching aircraft. 2 hydraulic catapults on the port and starboard sides of the flight deck can launch aircraft in the event of an emergency. Once a plane is attached to the catapult, hydraulic fluid is released into a cylinder, causing a ram to blast through, activating pulleys that throw the warplane forward into the wind. And at Macon, Enterprise is launching everything she has. 75 miles away, as Enterprise planes storm the skies, cruiser USS Baltimore and the American gunships take aim at Macon Atoll. Baltimore and the destroyer escorts open up and pepper the island with explosive naval gunfire. The enemy positions shake from the deadly impact of American shells. Baltimore is the lead ship of her class. Born in the steelworks of Massachusetts in 1942, she's 673 feet of Yankee iron. She is armed with 9 8-inch guns, 5-inch .38s, and an arsenal of automatic weapons. Now, she's breaking them in at Macon Atoll. Baltimore's Mark 12 8-inch turrets are a complex system of hoists that bring the heavy ordnance from the magazine and handling rooms to the breech of the guns. The Mark 12 8-inch 55 caliber gun can launch a shell more than 30,000 yards. Baltimore is within deadly killing range of Macon, and Butari Tari is a target-rich environment. She will fire more than 1,300 rounds at the enemy island on this single day. By 8:30 a.m., U.S. soldiers are hitting the beaches as bombs and shells continue to nail the enemy bunkers and pillboxes further inland. High above the fury on the beaches, a single TBF Avenger from Enterprise keeps a close watch on the unfolding action. The mission of the torpedo plane is to report the bombing activity back to Rear Admiral Kelly Turner, who is running the overall bombardment on board USS Pennsylvania. It's the eyes in the sky for the whole operation. Flying as the gunner in the TBF, Alvin Kernan can clearly see the American troops wading ashore.
So we flew very close over the beach, and it was a grandstand seat, really fine. But the landing craft came in, and we thought there would be a big battle, and they touched the beach, and they let their ramps down on the beach, no problem at all.
Enterprise Hellcats and bombers sweep in and strafe Japanese machine gun nests with merciless firepower. As ground forces begin the savage process of clearing enemy positions with rifles, machine guns, and artillery on the beaches.
And we bombed it, and the fighter planes strafed it, and the battleships shot the hell out of it, and there were palm trees down all over the place.
For the next 4 days, Enterprise pilots and Army riflemen share a working partnership. The Big E's air groups never let up, and each day brings another meal of blood and body parts. As the assault on the maze of pillboxes, bunkers continues. But the Enterprise airstrikes have done their job. The Japanese are unable to mount a strong defense.
For those Japanese soldiers to be getting pummeled like they were getting pummeled on that day, I'm sure that they were thinking, you know what, we kind of messed up when we did this Pearl Harbor thing. You know, and I wish we could turn back the clock. I guarantee you that's what the hell they were thinking.
Success in the invasion of Macon is a certainty. For the crew aboard Enterprise, this battle seems easy compared to the horrors of Guadalcanal. But all of that is about to change. While Enterprise steams just off the war-ravaged beaches of Macon, hundreds of raw recruits are still getting used to life aboard the Big E. Until now, most of the crewmen aboard Enterprise have been volunteers from before the war. By 1943, a new wave of volunteers and draftees fill the ranks of the Navy. A new breed of citizen sailors and Marines.
What you now have in 1943 are a large number of citizen soldiers, Americans that volunteered or were drafted. And they are the ones that are going to carry the fight to the Japanese in the Central Pacific Campaign and then the final assault against the home islands.
That summer, as Enterprise prepared to re-enter the war zone, nearly 40% of her crew had been replaced by recruits straight out of sea school. One of them is Marine Jack Maroney of Dallas, Texas.
I sure wanted to go on the Enterprise. It had a great aura about it, and of course it had an illustrious history. You want to be a part of it.
But not everyone is happy with their new assignments. Marine Lieutenant Richard Hart comes to Enterprise from rural West Virginia. His first impression of the Big E isn't a good one.
First time I saw the Enterprise, she was in dry dock in Bremerton in Puget Sound. And she was draped in every kind of a hose or pipe or conduit or line you've ever seen in your life. There were welders all over her, and it didn't even look like a boat. It looked like some giant, crazy project that somebody started and never finished.
Like many Marines, Hart would prefer to be in the lead of riflemen rather than on the deck of an aircraft carrier.
I didn't go into the Marine Corps to be on a boat. I trained to have a rifle platoon in the Marine Corps, which is what I wanted.
A Marine would rather definitely be fighting with the infantry instead of being on ship, because when you're on ship, it's kind of like you're in prison. You really can't go hunt other human beings. You really can't do what you're trained to do as far as in being an infantryman.
But with the ship at sea and back in the war zone, Lieutenant Hart has a new appreciation for the vessel that has become his home.
I didn't think anything could be so big. I didn't think anything could ever touch her. I just thought she must be absolutely invincible.
Now, in the Gilbert Islands, Richard Hart is about to find out that when the Japanese attack, there's no such thing as an invincible ship. November 25th, 1943, 7 p.m. It's Thanksgiving Day, 5 days after launching the assault on Macon. But in the waters off of Macon Atoll, there's no time for prayer. Flares explode in the skies over USS Enterprise and her task group. Moments later, Japanese twin-engine bombers streak overhead, delivering a grim message with Imperial warheads. Battleship North Carolina and the destroyer escorts open fire and beat down the enemy. But Enterprise holds her fire. Nearly 2 years of combat in the Pacific War have taught the crew that tracers fired from her anti-aircraft guns only mark the ship as a target in the shadows of night.